Welcome to Share Views, brought to you by London South East. I'm Donald Leggett, and Zaza Mamuvaishvili, CEO at Frontera Resources, is with me to give us the latest news on Frontera, the Georgian onshore oil and gas exploration and development business. Welcome, Zaza.
Thank you, Donald. Good to be back in here.
It is good to be back in here, yeah. The bulletin boards are buzzing with Frontera at the moment, and they're buzzing with two things. The news that two industry majors are interested in Taribani and whatever, and looking at your data, and unfortunately, as a result of that, people are shorting your stock. So, and they're most unpopular on the bulletin boards at the moment. So, sum up progress for me so far with the majors.
Absolutely. We have a very, very good position at the moment because we are working very closely, as we announced before, with a couple of major industry potential partners, rather.
And presumably you can't tell me who those potential partners are.
Unfortunately, I can't, but I can tell you that those are big boys. And we are making excellent progress in terms of technical work and technical due diligence, and our technical the staff is exchanging with data, working on the details. So I think we will be in a position to get back to the market and update shareholders relatively soon, sooner than later, rather. About more progress, what we will be making in the short future here.
No, that sounds very positive. To what extent can you tell me how discussions are progressing, or perhaps not at all, but let me ask the question anyway.
In terms of the industry majors?
Yes, in terms of the industry majors, how are things going?
Things are going very well. Basically, the results of the current drilling campaign, which we've completed 3 months ago, and those results turned out to be pretty encouraging in terms of oil production in Taribani, the field, and we had tested for gas in Heavy Gas Complex, and those results turned out to be pretty encouraging for our potential partners, and in the meantime they are looking mainly at those two areas. And as we speak, we continue production operations, testing operations, technical discussions with those technical folks, and we'll be coming back to you soon.
Previously, we were talking in depth about Zone 19, so T39 right down to Zone 19. Is that where the oil majors are interested in, or what exactly are they looking at?
They are looking at not only Zone 19, at Taribani as a whole, and as I mentioned before, they are looking at Heavy Gas Complex as well. So we've got a very nice gas play in there. But what happened in Taribani, and which is very important, from our previous operations, we knew that as called Eldari A, which is zones 9, 14, 15, they were the nice frackable, producible rocks, and we had long-term production tests in Zone 9, and we just reconfirmed with Zones 14 and 15 that there is oil, we can drill, we can frack, we can stimulate, and produce oil from those zones. So from Eldari A, which was fluvial, kind of the geology. Fluvial rocks.
Yeah.
But what happened with Zone 19, as you correctly pointed out, was that we just reconfirmed again. We've drilled Zone 19 years ago, and now we just drilled it again in Zone 39. And Donald, what happened here was that we saw that rock properties are much better in Eldari B, to which Zone 19 belongs, than Eldari A. We've got better rock properties, better porosity, better permeability, better quality crude oil. We have 41.5 API crude flowing from this well as we speak right now. And also on the top of everything, all what I said, Zone 19 in well 39 has been drilled down deep on the structure, which means that Taribani is just getting bigger. And so, all that above.
So Eldari Zone B, Block B, Zone B?
Yes.
Is jackpot time for you. It's as good as it could be.
Exactly. Exactly, because what I'm talking about getting bigger is that the third-party estimates, which we've completed years and years ago, before drilling and fracking zones 9, 14, 15, before drilling and completing Zone 19, we've been, the third-party report estimate is more than 150 million barrels of oil to be recoverable. But with current operations, what we see is that that number is going to get north to what we already see.
And it's too early to say how much more than 150 million barrels of oil recoverable it might be.
It is a little bit early, but we're going to incorporate all this data which we've acquired right now and still the finding with this process, and we will get back to the market with updated numbers in near future.
Great. I can see why the oil majors are interested.
Yes, and this is actually another great vote of confidence of what we are doing and the direction we are marching to.
In quite a short period of time, Frontera has turned itself around. You know, under your stewardship, it's on a loan.
It looks like a short period of time, but honestly, this is the work for last many years.
Many years, and it's simply coming to fruition now.
Exactly. I've just been the lucky to be at the right place at the right time to take all the credit.
That's beautifully expressed. What do you hope happens with the oil majors? What would be a successful outcome for you?
A successful outcome will be that we either have one of these companies, for example, farm into our Taribani field or maybe in Taribani heavy gas complex, or another option might be that we may have some joint joint operational agreements. But in both of those cases, the scenario will be such that we will be either co-investing together with potential partners, that they will be putting their capital at risk, like what we are doing.
Okay. Let's move on. There's lots been happening with Frontera in terms of the litigation and disagreements. You've been quite litigious in the past few months. Let's start with the Cayman Islands action against Outrider Master Fund and the director, Stephen Hope. It involves loans made by Outrider to Frontera, and in simple terms, because this can be very complicated, but I suspect that at its heart it can be made quite simple. So let's try for a simple explanation of what it's all about.
Sure. Mr. Hope, he is the principal of one of the principal of Outrider Fund, and he sits on the board of Frontera's board of directors. Unfortunately, what we believe that he has breached his fiduciary duties, meaning that he failed to act in the best interest of the company. He failed to exercise his independent the opinion and to act as an independent director.
So Outrider made a loan to Frontera.
Yes.
As a result of that, he sat on the board.
That's exactly
But when he was
right.
sitting on the board, he was looking after the interests of Outrider, not looking after the interests of Frontera. That's what you believe.
That's right, because the main important point here is that whoever serves as a director of Frontera has to act in the best interest of the company. And Mr. Hope turned out to be in the conflict of interest because he's on the board of Frontera. He's at the same time the principal at the note holder. And this is what has happened. We believe that it was not the right thing for him to do. And in order to protect the company, protect the shareholders' interest, we took proactive steps, proactive measure, and initiated this legal proceedings against Outrider and Mr. Hope.
Okay, and what outcome are you seeking in the Cayman Island courts?
Unfortunately, I think that I can't speak more about this issue since we are in the middle of this legal argument. But one thing I know that it has damaged the company the way one of the board members behaved because one of the board member breached his fiduciary duties, and that's why we initiated this case. And probably at this moment, that's all what I will be able to tell you.
Great. And moving on, you're having ongoing discussions with YA and have actually resolved, in this instance, you've had a disagreement which has been resolved. In terms of Series A shares, which you've been discussing, at one point debt was turned into equity, and presumably this is you buying back those shares now. If you put it into context for us, explain in simple terms what's been happening with YA. Who are YA and what's been going on?
This is the Yorkwell Associates. This is the fund, and they had the right to. They invested through the several different instruments in the company, and they've converted this amount to shares, and we had the right to redeem those shares, and that's exactly what we are doing right now. For obvious reasons, which we had announced before, and I just didn't go back to history now, that we had some disagreement. This disagreement has been successfully resolved, and as a result of this settlement, which we've achieved with them, I guess maybe a little over during the past week or so, we are at the moment paying approximately 4 times less cash per month as for redeeming those shares. And we'll be continuing paying the cash for months. We are lifting
by
this.
redeeming, you mean buying them back?
Buying those shares back. In other words, we are not issuing any shares to Yorkville. We'll be paying them cash. And with previous arrangement, we've been paying 4 times more. Now we are paying 4 times less.
So you're paying less, and you have a defined end point.
That's right.
This brings the whole thing to a conclusion.
Exactly, and that brings whole thing to a conclusion, brings us to a better position, and makes more cash for us available to invest back in the operations.
Great. Okay, so happy days. Happy days.
Yes, exactly.
Why essentially it's been put to bed.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's round up with sort of an investment case for Frontera. You seem to be sort of buffeted around to a certain extent with lots of good news because you've got some the major players involved. So you're in the eye of the storm at the moment. But I'm looking at a very calm man in front of me. So where do you see Frontera in the next year or two? What's the investment case for Frontera? Why should people still hang in with you?
Well, we've got brilliant investment case, and trajectory we are heading towards is excellent. And maybe in a way, this is the reason of some unpleasant things happening around us. But all has been sorted out. And
if you were no hopers, all these other people would not be interested.
Exactly.
So it's actually a vote of confidence.
Yeah, right.
Slightly unfortunate, but there is a positive.
Unfortunate way to express the positive attitude. But to answer your question, Donald, is that this is excellent investment case because now we see that we've reconfirmed several times that producibility of excellent oil-bearing rocks in Taribani, the Eldari A and Eldari B. The volumetrics of the field are getting better. Deliverability of the field is good. Drilling wells in Taribani, the cost of drilling wells is coming down.
It's around $3.3 million a well at the moment.
$3.3 million, and now what we are seeing, once we enter kind of the full field development phase, we probably will be able to reduce it even further. So we have approximately $3 million, a little bit more, $3 million to drill the well, and we have the wells with ultimate recovery numbers as much as 1 million barrels per well. And we see that we even have fantastic Eldari B zone, which requires no fracking, no mechanical stimulation, excellent rock properties, and naturally flowing at the moment, and deliverability of those rocks are perfect. So think about $3 million wells delivering 1 million barrels of oil over the time.
Which is $4 to $5 million a year?
1 million barrels over the time that we are talking about, assuming $60, $70 oil, that's $60, $70 million over 10, 15 years. But if you spend $3 million to drill the well, and in 10 years it delivers for you $60 million value, that's a pretty robust economics and good opportunity to invest.
This is good news. And the infrastructure, there are gas pipelines that are, the infrastructure locally in Taribani is good.
Infrastructure is excellent. There is domestic infrastructure, export infrastructure of pipelines running through our block and through Taribani. So we are very nicely set in already developed infrastructure such that whatever we produce, we will be easily selling it domestically or exporting beyond.
Zaza Mamuvaishvili, CEO at Frontera, fascinating as ever. You're really at a very interesting stage in life. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, folks, for more interviews like this, do subscribe to our London South East YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.